Hey, Stewart's Chapel, this is Don Pierson and Don Counts behind the camera. We're continuing our devotions on burdens as what God says about them anyway. This is Monday, September the 19th. Monday, September the 19th. Yesterday we looked in Galatians, Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2, that whole section. And then today we're going to be back in that chapter, Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 through 5. But I also want to read to you Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Now, a few weeks ago when I preached, the Matthew text was my primary text. And I just wanted to revisit. Again, I recognize that for some of you this will be a review. But for those of you that aren't at Stewart's Chapel, this will be new to you. Now, a few days ago, I went through the Greek words that were translated as burden or burdensome or load or weight. And the last one I looked at was the word phortion. And so let me read Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. And I'm going to tell you something. Words matter. Now, I wish that we could understand Greek and Hebrew well enough to understand that sometimes one English word is really insufficient. And that's the case with this word. Oh my goodness, this phortion carries so much so that we almost miss the meaning. In fact, we will miss the meaning if it's just in English. So, Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30. Jesus is speaking, Come to me all you who labor and are heavy laden. Those of you who have heavy loads, heavy burdens, you come unto me and I will give you rest. That's an incredible invitation from Jesus. Now here, this come to him, even says come to him all. There's no period there. He defines who he's inviting to come. Those who are heavy laden, heavy burden, heavy weight, who are working and laboring, I'll give you rest. Take my yoke. In other words, come and take another burden upon yourself and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You remember over in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1 and 2, where it told us or commanded us to bear one another's burden, and it told us how to do that. It told us to do it with gentleness and lowliness of heart, examining ourselves. Well, that's the way Jesus is. He says, I'm gentle and lowly in heart. And you will find rest. That's twice now that he has talked about giving them rest for your souls. Now, verse 30 is where the Greek word phortion is used and translated in your Bibles as burden or load. For my yoke is easy, and my burden, my phortion, is light. I don't expect you to remember what phortion meant a few days ago. Phortion is very, very different than all of the other Greek words for burden. Phortion implies a responsibility, a call, an assignment, a mission, a task. In other words, he says, you come unto me, my task, my calling, my mission to your life. Literally, in other words, for us, my cross is light. My phortion, my calling, my responsibility for you, my assignment is easy and light. Galatians chapter 6, the word phortion is also used there, but it's used in verse 5. Now remember, yesterday we looked at verse 2 and where it talks about burden, and there it's bardios, and bardios and phortion are not the same. Bardios comes because, in this case anyway, comes because there's a trespass against one of God's boundaries. Either somebody has trespassed and sinned and brought this heavy load to you, or you have trespassed against God's boundary and brought it into you. The assignment for the one when one's trespass is for allow other believers to help you with it. But with Fortion, no one else can carry it. So let's read the text. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore. Bring them back. Ministry of reconciliation, such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you be tempted or you fall in the same trespass. Bear one another's burdens, or bear one another's bardos, or load, or weight. This bardos comes from a trespass, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. Let each one examine his own work, and then he will have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. Now, verse 5. For each one shall bear his own burden or load, and that word is Fortion. It's not the same word. Don't even come close to it. Doesn't even carry the same idea. It says, basically, let each of you fill your calling. You fulfill your calling, fulfill your mission. You do what God has called you to do. No one can do that for you. That one is not shared with another man. The same word, though, is used for Jesus. In other words, that calling that Jesus gives, he never really releases. It's like this calling has room for two. Well, it's not you and your wife, or you and your husband, or it's not even you and your children. It's you and Jesus. It's got two places for the head. No one else can share this. Jesus is the only one. It's not like Bardos, where I come and help you. No. This is about me coming to Jesus. And again, it's the invitation. Jesus invites me to come, to carry, and to share. It can't be transferred. Jesus never lets go of it. We walk with him in this assignment, in this Fortion that he has given us. Some Fortions come from some roles we have. For example, I have a Fortion of God as a husband. I have a Fortion or a burden or a load that comes because I'm a father. I have one that comes because of my call as a pastor or a teacher or an elder or a deacon, or employees have a calling or responsibility as servants to a master, and bosses and masters have a responsibility of God as well. Those roles are clearly laid out in the New Testament for us. No, you can't. You can't delegate those. You do them. And Christ will walk with you as you do them. He doesn't want you to be alone in it. He wants you to join him, not him joining you. Once again, I'm back where I started. Sometimes I just wish that our English words, well, you see, it would take actually more words than one word to really communicate the idea of Fortion, which is translated in verse 30 of chapter 11 as burden. You have a calling and a responsibility, a mission of God. It's your cross that he calls you to carry. Another thing is, he's right there. He's on the other side of it. It's that calling of you. I can't help you with that. Nobody can but him. Love you, Stewart's Chapel.